Not all our characters make it to the end credits.
Where did that idea come from for the Thronglets? Because, like, for me, it feels like it was obvious that it was like Sims, SimCity, Lemmings, Tamagotchis to a degree.
You've basically listed
Check.
Yeah, you're right. And because I usused to be a video games journalist in the 90s, and I remember being shown things which were being shown a thing that was an artificial life simulator, as it was built as. So it was partly that, and the way that people would behave with the Sims, and how quickly you could feel guilty if you did something to Sims' life up. I felt a visceral sense of guilt.
Because you're a good human.
Am I? Do you think?
Yeah.
Good, I'll take that.
She worked at PC Zone, and that's where
Well
he
spotted,
works.
yeah.
Cameron works for PC Zone.
Yeah.
And Charlie Brooker.
Yeah.
Did you talk about that at all? Like,
You know, no, because he was barely around. He was writing all the other episodes and just jetting off everywhere because he's, a man of many talents and busy. But yeah, I did think like, is he kind of putting himself in this episode a bit as well? Like,
That's
just
so
a little
funny.
bit.
I didn't know that that's what he did back in the day.
No, I did. I did. I was like, and Cameron Walker, Charlie.
Yeah.
I was like, not like too far away from each other name wise. So I was like, maybe he's putting himself in this lawn a little bit. It's interesting. Because if he was like, now I want you to play me, really, I'd be like, oh no, I could get into your mind. No way.
Plaything. There's some familiar faces come back.
Some familiar returning faces in that. You're talking about the Thronglets, obviously, which
Thronglets, big fan.
your favourite game of the mid-90s.
When the Thronglets re-releasing HD remaster?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because there will be a game. I think I can say that. Can I say that?
Keep an eye out for launch day.
Keep an eye out for launch day.
I think it's actually, I think they're making a game on it as real as well. Yeah. But yeah, they were there, and it's so funny because, like, obviously when you're on the day, you just like, okay, these are just sprites and whatever. But I think, through hopefully the story and the writing and the acting and the editing and all that you really feel them as a character, because they, otherwise the story fails. Yeah. You have to care about the Thronglets enough to be like, I don't like him, or I feel sorry for him, kind of thing. So yeah, I think they were there, and they were really cute. When he like baths them or feeds them, and they like have a little smile and stuff. It's cute. It's cute.
We have to create software that elevates us, or else what is the fucking point of the tools at our disposal?
We were left to sort of
Trip
like
on acid,
improv,
yeah.
basically an acid trip that did go on for quite a while, we were in a sort of like state where like we did lose any sort of like self consciousness.
Whatever, yeah.
And it was great. It was a lovely like space to be in, and that was I remember that day being very fun. It's always good. I think it genuinely is good when you sort of like forget. What did we just do in that last?
Yeah.
take? Do you know what I mean?
Forget. You look at it and you're like, what's that?
It's a happy place, isn't it? Today, I think.
That freedom, yeah. When I think Cameron snaps.
Yeah.
When he snaps and does that scream. That was like, yeah, this is great. I like this because he's so kind of like nervous and held and anxious for the long time. To see him snap was like, oh, it felt fun. It felt fun to do. I was hoarse afterwards.
Yeah,
but
that scream.
Yeah,
makes it easy. That was the easiest day's work. Being scared of you was quite an easy
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. I know. I was like, the body's turned into a psycho.
Yeah.
The more that I spoke, the deeper our connection became.
We did talk about the character. We did talk about what we could do with him. And basically what David Slade and I said was like, it'd be pretty interesting if he just takes from me. So that's the way it worked out. Was he listened to the way I spoke. He watched my movements. He'd memorize the way I my speech patterns, just to like envelop Cameron when he gets older. Even though their personalities shift a bit from, because obviously as any personality would when you get older, right? But when you're younger. But yeah, he took from me. So he studied me like a caricature, like a creature, and then took me into his portrayal a bit, which is really nice. And he did a great job, I've got to say. Like obviously as an actor he's great, but like I was like, that's how I would sound when I'm that old, I think. So he's good.
Redream is a system that we're using. We're making the movie in real time. They're AIs, they're constructs.
None of this is real.
I'm as real as you are.
I mean, Black Mirror is always very original, but I felt like there was something really singular about this episode. The fact that it sort of stands alone is a bit of a feature, and also the fact that it's a love story at its core.
I mean, it came about from, as a lot of episode ideas do, actually came about from sort of two slightly separate ideas that then went zoink, like that. So there was one thing I wanted to do a story about. I had this fantastical idea was, you what if you could digitally recast a Bond-style spy movie, but the wrong person sort of gets thrown into the lead, was one idea. And then there was another idea that was almost like a ghost story, but using sort of technology. And those two ideas kind of went zoink at some point. I watched the film Brief Encounter, which I'd never seen before, and sort of that connected a lot of that tissue. But you're right in that it's sort of about stories at the same time, and there's quite a lot of, obviously I'm slightly channeling things that some of the conversations they have in there are about, like, we need, oh no, we've got a plot hole forming and we need this to happen, but in order for that to happen, we need this to happen, and which are the sort of conversations you have when you're talking about writing. And it was fun to sort of channel those in a different environment, in a high-stakes kind of mission.
But every day was kind of extraordinary because you were shooting a black and white film, so it was a lot of like tips and tricks that they would have used back in the day that we were sort of creating now, like the costumes. Like to make things read on black and white, you'll put in incredibly insane colours of clothes because different things pop and different things read. So that was cool. It was, to be honest, a lot of it was in the script. Like Dorothy's character, I didn't really take one actress from a 40s film and think I'm going to base this on her, which is kind of testament to Charlie's incredible writing. It was kind of all there. It was an amazing excuse to just like watch a lot of 1940s films, which was epic, so I did that. I was watching a lot of Jimmy Stewart films anyway, because someone had asked me if I'd watched The Philadelphia Story, and I hadn't, so I'd watched that, and then I went into a complete Jimmy Stewart hole, and then ended up watching Bringing Up Baby with Katharine Hepburn. And there's something about her complete abandon and joy, and like the extent of her physical comedy in that, which I thought was completely inspiring and amazing. Yeah, it's like heightened but raw and emotional at the same time. It's extraordinary.
I'm losing my mind.
Last season, I actually started out doing a load of horror stories, and they were all going to be Red Mirror, sort of supernatural horror and crime stories. And then I accidentally thought of a very Black Mirror-y episode, and and that changed it all back to that. This time around, I knew going into it, right, I'm going to sort of just focus entirely on sort of tech stories, not like dystopian necessarily stories, but certainly like, in a way, OG stories, in that an OG Black Mirror episode is there's some kind of tech MacGuffin that also is a product that you can absolutely understand why you would want to use it in real life, that may or may not fuck someone's life up. Sort of, wouldn't you say that's kind of the definition? So I knew going into it that they're basically that, even though the outcomes are all very different.
The episode Eulogy sums that up, I think, perfectly. Because, like, when I was watching, I was like, that's cool, I want that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you want it? Well, I mean,
I
and
think
again,
that one actually,
yeah.
It's more positive.
I think I would totally use that, and I think that's the like barrier for entry on Black Mirror, and I think you would actually use most of the tech if you didn't think about it hard enough.
It's kind of bittersweet, that episode as well. Yeah.
It reminds over COVID, I think there were these sites like Tribute, I remember, was one of them, or friends would have birthday parties or funerals where you'd record videos for them. So it feels like Eulogy is the natural string to pull.
I'd keep pulling it, that's the problem. I dwell, I'm a dweller, so you give me that ability to
I'd
dwell.
keep pulling it. That's the quote I'm taking from you.
He was just a bit odd.
We're all a bit odd.
Every character feels real. Do you know what I mean? Like every episode has characters who are extremely like relatable. I'm balancing that against the themes of each episode that are quite surreal.
The abnormalness of it all, yeah.
I think it's confronting and surprising, and I think we have a sort of dark sense of curiosity, don't we, with like how far we can push the limits of technology and how that interacts with human nature. I think it's endlessly fascinating. But it's scary as it becomes closer and closer to the reality we live in, isn't it?
I think it shows the deprived, fucked up nature of humans. and I think people really like that because humans are messed up, and we're all messed up and we're all flawed, and I think it just shows you that it kind of makes you second guess like how much we rely on technology. So I think people like seeing like people are messed up.
You know what? It's different for different people because the episodes are quite different actually. Like there's some people who love episodes like sort of Lock Henry or Common People or something like that. Like there's people who love that flavour of Black Mirror, and then you get people who love like Hotel Reverie or San Junipero, or you get people who like we've got Bête Noire, which is like sort of serious but also is quite of a romp. So in a weird way, it's everyone, like I've seen when fans make their tier lists of the order in which they rank the episodes from great to shit sort of thing, they tend to not correlate that much. Like people are very different. You could probably psychologically profile people based on their ranking of Black Mirror episodes and then recruit them as assassins in some sort of shadowy conspiracy. Or not. Just recruit them as staff for a sandwich bar.
People who love National Anthem.
You don't want them near the sandwiches.
Don't freak out.
I don't freak out. I never freak out.
It's a logistical challenge and a technical challenge because they're all treated separately, effective as separate as we can treat them. They're all sort of treated like short sort of films, basically. So that means there's a healthy competition between the episodes, but it also means we have to be across all of them, which can be a logistical challenge and a bit of a nightmare. It means there's a point where you've got sort of one episode that's in post-production at the same time as you're getting the first cut of another episode. You're on set for another one. I'm writing another. There's a point in the middle where you feel like you're sort of drowning a little, but still, it's ultimately a bloody good job to have, isn't it?
It never gets boring.
Lots of obscene puppets like Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think if there was a video game that I would really like to see adapted into a Black Mirror kind of universe, maybe like Demon Souls. I'd love someone to really see someone like realize they're in a virtual world of that, and like seeing these monsters in fear, but then realizing that that it's set in olden times. It would be so like in the past, but it's like, wait, the main character finds out he's in like a Truman Show type deal, but in a video game form, and they're messed up dark games, the Demon Soul games. So I think that would be cool to see that kind of horror Black Mirror-esqueness.
That's as if you've thought about that before. That's such a good answer.
No, I haven't. I was racking my brain there for games, but that's the one I'd think of. I want a writing credit if that ends up happening.
It's 30 million players versus the 5 of us.
Is there a possibility of you revisiting previous episodes? Obviously, USS Callister.
What do you reckon?
I think it's a lot of fun to go back to characters that you love and that are alive.
Yeah, because not always characters make it to the end of they don't. Not all our characters make it to the end credits. Definitely, never say never.
Is there one in particular you'd like to do, or is that spoiling too much?
That would
I'm not
be,
saying.
I'm not saying.